Hello, welcome to part 37. Yeah, so just a little reminder of what these videos are all about. They are all stemming from this publication of mine, Pure Observation, Fair Review of the Amityville Horror, available on Amazon. So, yeah, just wanted to remind, that this is what we're all about, really. And, amazingly still, I haven't given away everything in the book in all these videos. I don't think I really could. I'd have to do a hell of a lot, to really cover all the details and extra details that have come along, during this time as well. So yeah, just a little reminder of what it looks like, that it's available, and there's still a lot to go through in there. If you're wishing to read it, I'd love you to read it. I'd love you to get your feedback. So just a little reminder there. Okay, now I wanted to cover in this piece something that I'd call it quite controversial. I'd say that it was something of a taboo nature in more ways than one. It's the idea that George Lutz manifested the paranormal activities by practicing, or some would say dabbling, with the occult. Now, this is something that, comes from certain sources, and I'm not meaning to disrespect or disregard any sources here, and I'm not going to mention any names. I'm simply going to give this from my perspective. And I just want to point out, kind of how it seems to have spread like wildfire, around certain communities, around certain parts of the Amityville community, I should say, as in people have, really taken it on board and taken it as gospel. And my own findings are that there's not really that much to support it or, verify it. Not really. Now, I feel that anyone who's believing that this was the cause of their troubles firstly needs to really question what is the source of the information that they're going by. And then we need to really question what exactly was George meant to have been doing. Now, I ask that question because through quite a lot of research and digging around, I wasn't able to find anything to describe any actual rituals or procedures or anything that George was said to have been doing during that time in the house. I mean, by listening to people saying, oh, well, he was into the occult, we kind of expect, to hear about rituals in a black cloak and, blood sacrifices and all kinds of, weird and wonderful things, being involved. But there's nothing to back any of that up. What we do have is, something that was always, kind of openly admitted, that George and Kathy practiced transcendental meditation, or TM as it's more commonly known, which is something that is said to open people up more to the spirit world. And as many people would know, spirit mediums would often go into a meditative state or trance before giving anyone a reading, because it's a way to connect with spirit. So, with that in mind, we could be looking at them potentially being more open and susceptible to something that was already there. But as regards to conjuring something and causing the whole thing, I find that, very difficult to believe. I just simply do. I mean, it's something that has gone around, and a lot of people are believing it, and a lot of people are, saying it quite flippantly. Well, yeah, it's a true story, but it wasn't what you thought. It was because George manifested it all by dabbling with dark arts. And when people are saying this, I always want to question them. Well, what reliable source have you got to be saying that? Because as I say, when digging into it quite deeply, I haven't been able to find anything really. No kind of circles or pentagrams or ritual daggers or anything like that. There's been nothing really to confirm anything. one way or another. Plus, these kind of things tend to be very, very secretive, very, very private. And so if someone was doing that, the chances are that, no one would have seen it anyway. So it's a very, very, questionable element of the whole thing. Things do get misunderstood, and this is perhaps one of my theories that maybe the transcendental meditation was mistaken for something of occult nature by people who didn't understand it, because that is something that did happen then, and it still happens now, that people will see something that they don't really understand, and they think, oh, good grief, what's this? And they're making the sign of the cross with their fingers like that, thinking, oh, this is weird, this is ungodly, what are they doing? When in actual fact, we could be looking at someone who was merely meditating. Yeah, I mean, another example I'll give you here, not saying that this was necessarily part of the whole thing, but the pentagram. Now, I'm going to show you this one here. Now, looking at it like that, that is an upright pentagram, which is actually a sign of protection from evil, and even a symbol of the 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. Each point of the star is representing one of those elements. Now, if we were to turn it the other way, just turn it slightly there, so we've got a point going down, yeah? What we got there is 2 points going up, representing the devil's horns, and the point going down, representing the devil's beard. So that is an example of how things can be misconstrued. I mean, people will sometimes look at all pentagrams and consider them all to be evil and occultist or satanic in some way, when in actual fact, a pentagram can be similar, very much on the same wavelength, or maybe kind of equivalent to a crucifix, in the way that people would kind of say, an upright, sorry, I'm using pens, but a crucifix like that, yeah, that's a sign of Christianity. It's a sign of Jesus being crucified. But if it's turned the other way and it's inverted, then that's a bad sign of Satanism. It's kind of going completely against it. And this is why I say a pentagram can be very, very similar. And so, it's a very, very muddled thing here, that people have latched onto. And some are even saying, it was a hoax because George conjured it all up. Well, if he conjured something up and they really had a scary experience as a result, then it wasn't a hoax, was it? If something actually happened, so even that has created more contradictions, which I just find, quite baffling. I mean, it's just all about, trying to put blame on someone and incriminate and demonize someone, that just doesn't, add up when really looked at in greater detail. Now, the one thing that I really do find very interesting is that none of this seemed to have been mentioned while George was still alive. This all seems to have come to light since he passed. And I feel that that in itself says a lot, that the man himself isn't here to defend himself or explain himself in ways that, would, kind of offer a better explanation. Yeah, it just all seems, quite convenient that these things come along after his demise. Yeah, so this is something that I just really wanted to bring in here. As I say, I don't want to go into too much detail about, where it comes from. I just don't want to go there. But as regards to where, this has led to, I do believe that it's caused extra controversies to something that was already controversial enough as it was. I mean, just an example here. I mean, a Facebook comment, someone said, I know someone who went into the house and saw George summoning up a demon. And it's like, well, who's this person? Oh, they can't talk. They don't want to talk. They won't be named. Very convenient. Yeah. I mean, but of course, that's social media for you. Yeah. But yeah, something more to think about. Yeah. Please give it some careful thought. Thank you. I'll be back soon. Many blessings.